everything you want is on the other side of fear. And man, I believe that. I mean, contrast that with what a lot of other owners would do, which is hire now because they're busy and they need to fill that spot and then end up regretting it because it doesn't work out. Whether we like to admit it or not, with the egos that doctors have, there is a cap to what we are able to accomplish without a strong team behind us and partnerships. And I don't know if I've thought about this till you just asked. I feel like I've needed to do that to make her sacrifice worth it.
This is Optometrists Building Empires, and I'm your host, Ankit Patel. Each week, we'll explore the journey of practice ownership and leadership in optometry. Join us for insights and strategies from the top minds in our field. This show is sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team helps your office increase revenues, reduce costs, and reduce staffing headaches. Let's build your empire together. Today's guest is someone I'm excited to learn more about and introduce you all to. He's an impressive optometrist and entrepreneur dedicated to helping optometry students and early career OD navigate their professional journeys. He specializes in specialty contact lenses, anterior segment and ocular disease, low vision rehabilitation, and dry eye management. He also publishes articles in leading optometry journals and contributes to ODs on finance, sharing his knowledge with the broader professional community. He is a career consultant and optometrist and co-owner at Greenbenow, Appleton, Wisconsin Eye Care. Please welcome Dr. Chris Lopez.
I'm happy to be here. Ankit, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, it's a interesting name, Greenbenow Eye Care. And we have 2 locations outside of Appleton, Wisconsin, 3 docs. Me and my business partner are co-owners of the 2 locations.
No, and thank you for clarifying that. I think I might have stumbled a little bit on that. And I was like, okay, slow down a little bit for now as a city.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have you on because I've met you before. We've dealt with ODs on finance and just been meeting each other at conferences. And you've got quite an impressive growth trajectory and I'll call it a little mini empire for yourself. So what was the most important thing that helped you grow your empire?
The most important thing for the empire, Ankit, I have to say the most important thing is probably courage. And I think that sounds cheesy. And I'm going to take a step back because I think there's nuance to this and there's layers. I don't mean this in the heroic sense. I'm not a hero jumping off planes and not going into burning buildings and rescuing people. Not I mean, those are heroes. That is courage. But I think there's something courageous to getting outside your comfort zone. I think there's something courageous to making yourself vulnerable. I think there's something courageous to taking risks and taking chances and buying into a business and all of that. So I think without courage, I mean, there's not a whole lot that you can accomplish, and there's not any opportunity to reach your full potential in what you can do and achieve in life. I'm a reader, and one thing that really stuck with me after I graduated is there's a quote, and it's oh gosh, of course I'm blanking now that I'm on your podcast, but it is everything you want is on the other side of fear. And man, I believe that. I believe that 100%. And that has stuck with me ever since I read it the very first time. And that's true. I mean, think about anything that you yourself have done, or any of your successful friends or clients, anything that anyone has ever done. It's been taking a chance. It's been having that first act of courage. And I think it's been working out well so far.
Nice. I like that. I think, what was a time in your career when you had courage, even though you didn't know the outcome? Can you share a story maybe of how you displayed courage?
Yeah. So I've had quite the journey. Okay. My wife and I, my family and I, originally I grew up in Southern California on the border. I did my undergrad in Iowa. I went to Houston for optometry school, bounced around a little bit. We were on the East Coast, and COVID hit. My wife and I, we were in Rhode Island, and she wanted to be a little bit closer to family. We were just looking for the right opportunity. She grew up in the Midwest, and we're like, well, we got to find the right opportunity. I knew I wanted to be an owner, since right after graduation. I wanted the autonomy. I wanted the opportunity to achieve financial independence, just be in control of, my own destiny, kind of thing. And so, we're really looking for that opportunity, and we ended up taking a chance and moving to central Wisconsin for the potential for me to buy into a practice. And that was a risky move. That was, we weren't sure if that was going to work out. And not to uh, put a sad end to the story, I ended up getting completely screwed over with that move. But, everything's, you can be a glass half full kind of person. You can be a glass half empty kind of person. But I'm also a firm believer that we can make the best of any situation, and everything is a learning opportunity. So even if you go into a situation like I did and end up getting screwed over, man, there's still stuff you can learn from that. And I mean, you can even in that sense, there's stuff you can pull from that. Like there's things that this is, for example, this is what I liked about this practice. This is what I'm going to incorporate once I'm an owner. This is what I didn't like about this owner and what they do. I am not going to do things this way once I'm an owner. There's always learning opportunities as long as you have the right attitude and the right mindset.
How'd you recover from that? Because that was a courageous move to go out there, and your biggest fear, I mean, a fear was probably realized, like, oh shoot, it didn't work out. Well, how'd you recover from that?
It's I think it's just grit, perseverance. I think perspective is important, and self-awareness is important. And I I just think that we are capable of so much. Um I'm first generation, like many of us. And when my mom came to the States, I mean, she worked in the fields in California, and she eventually became a teacher. She raised four of us on her own, and she would joke with us, once we were older and all that, that we wouldn't last a day in the fields. And I mean, she's right. There's no way we would last a day. So yeah, that sucked. Yeah, I got screwed over, lied to, all that stuff. But man, in the grand scheme of things, compared to what, like, she had to go through to give us this opportunity, I can pick myself back up and move or find another opportunity. That's not a big deal, relative to what other people have to go through. It sucked, but, with the right attitude, with the right mindset, I learned a lot from that, and I made sure not to repeat that mistake. But again, a blessing in disguise that led to another opportunity. I'm where I'm at now, and wonderful practices with wonderful doctors in a great location. Opportunity to buy into the practice where I'm in now, and couldn't have asked for anything more.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about as you're going through a growth path. Uh, Talk to us how you're growing, how you think about growth, because traditionally it's like everyone knows about. Okay, I want to own multiple practices. I want to have my own practice and grow it really big. Me, I want to be a solo practitioner. Me, I want to be a multi doctor. But yours is a little bit more around partnerships and growth. Tell me about how you view growth and how you're planning to grow your. I'll call it your empire, for lack of a better word here. I like that term. So yeah, how are you growing your empire?
Yeah, so the context is there was 2 locations and 2 doctors. So I joined in, still locations, and now there was 3 doctors, and it was a little cramped. So when I decided to join full time, I knew I wanted to do ownership. So, the negotiation, you work things out, get comfortable with each other, have all those discussions, make sure that everyone's on the same page, make sure it's even going to work out, make sure it's what everyone wants. And once we're all agreed to that, then you have to start planning for the next moves. And the next moves is you have to grow, because if you have offices set up to operate out of 2 docks, it's not set up to operate, for 3 docks. you need more space, more exam rooms, more pre-testing rooms, more staff and more equipment and all that stuff. So we had to grow, and partnered in, bought in, and then decided to expand. So essentially, almost double the size of our larger clinic, and went through that entire construction phase. And once we did that, we were crazy enough to just renovate the other clinic, the satellite clinic, the smaller office. So then we did that. So it was maybe a year, year and a half of just constant construction work. But what a blessing to have the best practice administrator on the planet to help navigate that stuff and have all the meetings with the contractor, and really navigate that situation. Patient staff, uh, uh, perseverance. We were still able to operate, albeit on a slower schedule, but we still had some revenue coming in. And once all the construction was complete, then we were able to. We are now just getting to the point post construction where we're able to crunch some numbers and see what we're finally able to see what we're able to generate based on 3 full-time doctors in a uh, full go operation, and it's looking pretty good. We're excited about it.
That's awesome. And it's I'm hearing a theme of partnerships and working together with people, whether it's with your practices, ODs on finance, or anything else you're doing. Seems to be a core value of yours is working with people. And is that accurate to say? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think so. Which is kind of interesting because I mean, growing up, I was fiercely independent. I mean, I was did most things by myself. I preferred not to work in a group project. I'd rather just do everything myself. If I did have a group project, I'd mostly do stuff myself anyway, and I have other people tag along. But I don't know if something changed or in me, or if it was just manner of circumstance. Having joined the ODs on finance team or the opportunity to partner into the practices I'm at now. But I mean, there are plenty of advantages to working in a partnership. There's disadvantages, and the biggest disadvantages you hear from people primarily stem from people that have gotten screwed from a partnership that has gone bad. Disagreements, shady business practices, stuff not fully fledged out in their partnership agreements legally, stuff like that. But I mean, if you are on the same page with your partners and you are have all the appropriate understandings, if you guys are have all your legal documentation set up appropriately, then I mean, the sky's the limit because we are, whether we like to admit it or not, with the egos that doctors have, there is a cap to what we are able to accomplish without a strong team behind us in partnerships. I mean, I don't know, we can achieve so much more with other people on the same page as us, I think. And I think what we are doing right now in our practices and what we are accomplishing with ODs on finance is a testament to that.
That's awesome. I really like what you're saying about the team because just talk me through this a little bit. You have the courage to come to a brand new practice in the middle of the U.S. where you're not as familiar, much colder than Southern California,
Oh
so
yeah, a little bit, a little
it's
bit.
much warmer. And you go in with the idea of having a partnership with someone that falls through. How do you get back on the horse and say, I want to go back into this? Like, talk to me about why you chose to do that again versus saying, like, hey, I'll just do it on my own. Like, kind of talk me through that journey, that decision.
I don't want to say fearlessness because it's not like I'm fearless. I mean, I think we all have fears. I'm not the bravest guy on the planet, but I don't know, Ankit. I think I am uh, cautious, but I am decisive, and I am not one of those analysis by paralysis people. Um, but I don't make rash decisions either. So I think there's a balance between all that stuff, right? Like if I see an opportunity and it seems good, I'm not gonna, you know, stew over it for 6 months trying to bounce that idea around in my head. I'm gonna look at it, analyze it, sleep on it. I'm gonna make a decision, and if it sounds good, then I'm gonna go for it. And if I'm gonna fail hard, and I'm gonna learn from it. I'm gonna get back up. I'm gonna keep moving on. I don't think there's in my mind, I think that's an appropriate way to go about life because I'm going to learn one way or another whether or not it's going to work out sooner rather than later. And I think maybe less regrets that way too because you're taking action, and and I think that says something.
Yeah, I like that. How do you keep moving forward? So not going after the one perfect answer,
Yeah,
but trying something didn't work, learn from it, try something else, and
yeah,
keep moving.
yeah.
Interesting. I like that. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that as you're growing, now you have your successful partnership, you have your other things that you're doing right now. As you're growing your businesses, what's something you ran into that you were like, oh, I did not expect this to happen?
Um, I will. I mean, I'll take the Odie's on finance answer for this, and I'm going to assume your audience knows, but Odie's on finance. So it was started by Dat and Aaron in California, and then me and Julie Fan joined after. So it's the four of us, and we have a team now. That helps us out, and we do a bunch of different things. Essentially, just providing resources to all of optometry, and it's a lot of fun. And what was really interesting is starting off, I think it was really amazing the support that we got from a lot of people because it was, we're new kids on the block, and people wanted to see us succeed. But the interesting part, and I probably should have anticipated it more, but as soon as we got bigger, I think other groups didn't like how big we were getting, and then it turned from desire for us to succeed, which looking back, it was fake, to now all of a sudden there's a target on our back, and it was really interesting how quickly that occurred, and so experiencing that was interesting, and not that I mean it's not we're not losing any sleep over that, but I think just going through that transition and seeing how people and organizations change their attitude. I don't know. That was interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely different, right? You
Mhm.
don't get to see that type of competitiveness in local markets at the optometry level.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's kind of here, especially if someone is getting really big outside of the local markets. There's gonna be competition.
yeah. But I mean, if anything, that also kind of tells you that you're doing some right.
Yeah, thanks. Uh, Love that. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the practices like a little bit more.
Hmm.
Right now, one of the biggest challenges around people are facing are staffing challenges.
Hmm.
How are you all managing that? And what are you doing? What's your secret if you're doing it well? If not, how are you doing your best to deal with it?
Oh man, I don't know if anyone has a secret. I would love for them to spill the beans. Um, I think if you poll 100 owners, I would be willing to bet 95 of them would say staffing is probably the largest issue in their practice, and I don't mean that like in a negative I don't mean that negatively towards, people, the staff members in their practice. We have wonderful staff. I think we have a great team that supports our practice and our goals. I think they help us take the great care of our patients. We have a really strong team. We're really lucky to have them, but it's hard, and especially in more rural markets, the applicant pool is smaller. So if we are looking to grow, for example, or looking to hire, or if someone leaves or they're moving out of the area, we have to replace them. It's harder to fill that spot with a smaller applicant pool. than it is maybe in an urban market. So doing so is tough, especially if you are one that is maybe, let's say you're looking for someone with optician experience as opposed to training from scratch. If you're looking for someone with optician experience in a rural market, I mean, how many candidates are you going to have applying for that position? It's hard to do that, and staying competitive from a compensation standpoint is becoming ever more challenging, especially given the fact that I'm going to say the same thing everyone's been saying forever, and especially given the fact that vision care discount plans haven't given us raises in a gajillion years. So how do we continue to be profitable, treat our staff right? We want to pay our staff more. We want to give them bonuses every year. How do we continue to be more profitable, generate more revenue with essentially declining reimbursements on an annual basis? It's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not an easy one. What is, for the audience and maybe sharing some of your insights and thought process, what are some things that you've tried that worked? Some of the things that you've tried that didn't work that when it came to staffing?
I actually think any and all of the above. I mean, it's work to train someone from scratch because they can come in open-eyed, and you can kind of just teach new habits. And I think it's a good way to go about doing things. Downside, obviously, is it takes longer, you know. And if you are busy and you're needing to move like this, and you're busy like us, and we're seeing plus patients an hour, it can be a frustrating few weeks, months to catch that person up to speed. But it can work well, and it's nice once that person is up to speed. Or you can hire with experience, which is nice because they can hit the ground rolling a little bit. So there's less training time. Downside is, if you hire someone with experience, potentially they can come in with some bad habits, potentially think they know how to do things better than the way we are doing things in our office. And poor habits can be difficult to break, or the idea in their head that this lens is better than this other lens when that's not really the way we do things in our office. So again, I don't know if there is a good golden rule for any of that stuff. And it's a preference thing. I'm more rural. Other markets are more urban. I don't think there's a one size fits all model. We're also heavy medical. I mean, that's different from like a boutique office. Some offices pay opticians differently than front desk. Some offices wear scrubs. Some offices dress up. Some offices sell $1,000 glasses. I mean, I think you kind of have to cater things differently, and your staff differently depending on where you're at.
Yeah, I think one of the lessons I learned was I needed people that I could work with and not
Hmm.
necessarily the right person on paper. Um,
Yeah. Can you
and
can you
so
elaborate on that? What do you mean?
yeah, so for instance, we have a little more boutique type office.
Hmm.
Um, one of our offices is really boutique. One of them is like upper market, but not like ultra boutique. And so my wife wanted it that way, and that's her personality. But
Hmm.
when I was helping her run the offices, my background is engineering, so I'm very much like, hey, get your stuff done, right? And so I had, and me personally, I just, for me to manage someone who is much more into the fashion side is difficult because I don't know about that world. I don't think like that. I think more in terms of processes. So I had to learn a few things. One, on paper, that person that's best to work in our office as an optician would be maybe an LDO who's got a fashion background, looks the part. But those are folks that, they kind of want to do it their own way. And I had my own way of doing it because it was a little bit different. We were trying to create a special experience. And that was tough to work with. So we end up just training folks ourselves. And now we have a GM who I'm really good at working with, and he can hire folks that are the right people for the fit. He can manage them much better than I ever was able to.
Hmm.
And so I've learned that, okay, if I can find the right people that I work with, I can empower them to do what they need to, and they can empower their team to do what they need to.
Can I ask you about that? Because that's a really interesting point, and I think that is something that a lot of owners, OD or not, struggle with is delegating. Was that difficult for you? Because you talked about your GM and empowering them and them doing that. Was that a difficult process for you or maybe your wife to get to the point where you felt comfortable delegating some of those responsibilities?
Was is, I don't know if it was a was, it still
Yeah.
be is. Um, well, so, here's what someone told me about entrepreneurship, and you probably feel the same thing at times. A lot of times the entrepreneur or the owner of the business, what they see it as is when they have a patient that gives a bad review or bad experience or, they have a bad financial day, a lot of times what they think of, "Oh my goodness, I'm gonna lose all my business. They're gonna tell everyone, or I got a bad review, everyone's gonna find out, and that's gonna cause me to lose my business, and I'm gonna be homeless." Right? So you
Mhm.
go from like a one bad financial day or one bad review and all the way to I'm gonna be homeless.
You spiral.
Yeah, it's a spiral, right?
Mhm.
And so it's tough to break out of that. So if you're going to give up control of that, you have to be able to trust the person. And so I think that's why I go back to I had to find people that mesh well with me first because I had to be able to trust them. And what were
Mhm.
those things for trust? And it's still a challenge, right? I have other businesses too that, like my business care team. And in there, it's like, the trust looks different than it does in the offices. With the offices, the GM and I, we worked side by side for about 6 months to 8 months. I was selling glasses with him, making sure he knew the job. I trained him. He wasn't from the industry. And then he got his own training and we continued to send him to training. But it was building that trust over years. And it was also a switch in my mind. I realized what business I was in, right? Optometry, brick and mortar optometry stores, they usually don't have hockey stick growth. And our practices have been around. We've bought existing practices, some of them around for 30, 40 years. And so pretty mature practice. And so getting five, maybe a little bit more than that, maybe 10% growth is huge for a practice that size and that old. And so the hockey stick growth type companies, you want a high standard. You want to make sure people are moving fast and you can kind of say, hey, this isn't working out. And you find someone else. With our business, it's very service oriented. It's very people oriented. Stability matters a lot. And so so I shifted my mind saying it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be stable and people have to, the patients have to be telling me good things. And so I tell people now, and I got this from Amazon actually, when anecdotes don't match up with data, believe the anecdotes. And I kind of shifted my mind away from data to anecdotes. Like, what are the patients saying? You can tell me all day until your face is blue in the face. The data says all this, but if the patient says this, I'm gonna, kind of tend towards there's something here that we're not capturing. What is that? And so combined with the just trusting someone and longevity, that's been a game changer for both my wife and I.
Yeah.
And so we've actually seen a much steeper, we've actually seen a pretty significant growth in the last couple of years because of that. And we were also patient with our staff,
Yeah.
meaning that we were operating on less than two doctors or two locations for a little bit of time because we were trying to find the right doctor, and it paid dividends for us long term because that is a
Mhm.
huge hire for us. And then and she's great, the new doctor is fantastic, and the staff, same thing there. It's like, hey, we're gonna work with you, we're gonna keep up with you, and we're gonna develop you as long as you have the right behaviors and the right attitude.
Yeah. But I mean, contrast that with what a lot of other owners would do, which is hire now because they're busy and they need to fill that spot and then end up regretting it because it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's that can you bear with it and be patient to find that right fit? Yeah, that's important. I will. I'm sorry. I'm kind of switching gears because you mentioned some of the questions earlier. I will share something that we do in our office that I was admittedly not skeptical, but a little maybe hesitant at first, but it has paid dividends. And this is not zero credit to me. It's all credit to our practice administrator, business manager. Is we do something called brain styles.
Ooh,
People do like the IMTJ or the
yeah.
Myers Briggs or all that stuff, and
Or
so
dance. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, all the personality stuff. So, and brain styles is one of those where it breaks you down, and it's similar. It breaks you down to like the analyst or the um, statistician or whatever. And I'm very much on this corner. I'm like the numbers analytical person, and so is my business partner, and our practice administrator is very um, I need check marks and very organized. And almost all of our staff members were in this other corner.
Mhm.
And it was really important because this corner takes and receives feedback entirely opposite than me and my business partner, which is different from our practice administrator. So, going through that brain style process allows us to communicate much more effectively with each other because we are able to give and receive feedback in a way that we prefer to give and receive feedback. And I know to a lot of um, maybe boomer listeners, that sounds touchy feely kind of thing. And believe me, I am not emotionally. Uh, um, sensitive perhaps, but it makes a difference, and you kinda you have to, because if that's what your staff is composed of, you have to meet them where they're at. But that's made a big difference is and it doesn't have to be brain cells, but any way that allows you to better, more effectively communicate with your staff and give them feedback in a way that they are more receptive to, allows for better communication, and it allows for growth, and it allows them to improve, and that overall is better for the office.
Yeah. I love that. That's actually really good. Yeah, it took me a lot longer than I probably should have to come to that realizations. It's not like you got there much faster than I did in my career. So that's good for you all. That's awesome. So, Chris, tell me a little bit about what you're excited about in the for the future of I'll ask two questions. What are you excited about for the future of OD? And what are you excited about for the future of your own practices?
Oh, great question. So what I'm excited for our own practices is growth and improvement. I'm very much like I love continuous growth and improvement. I've always been that way. And I probably attribute that to having grown up playing sports my whole life. I played everything: soccer, baseball, football, basketball, played football in college.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just like you have to get better. If you're not getting better, someone's going to take your spot and you're not playing, and I think that just it was drilled into me. So I have zero tolerance for complacency, zero patience for mediocrity. I don't have that in me at all. So, and it doesn't really matter what that looks like, whether it's just maximizing both of our offices, whether it's getting to 50 offices in 20 years. I don't know what it looks like. And I don't think it really matters as long as we just continue to grow and get better every day and continue to make plans. Me and my business partner, Dr. Craig Silt, we meet continuously. We're always thinking of new ideas, implementing new things, continuing to do little things to grow the practice. I don't. What I think is important is I don't think owners have to have grandiose ideas to take it from one practice to 100 practices and retire and become a billionaire. I mean, read Atomic Habits. It's the 1% every day. It can be little things. It can be, implementing retinal screenings. Just do one little thing, one little dry eye thing, one little staff improvement, more better staff training. I mean, just little tiny improvements, more doctor meetings so you can implement more dry eye treatment protocols. We're just going to keep getting better in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like. I'm excited for growth and improvement. And for ODs on finance, I don't know how much I can tease here, but man, we got some plans. We have a lot that we're already doing. We have a lot that's continuing to be built out. Probably the two biggest projects that they're launched already, but that they're growing a lot are the merchant services. And I think that launched just over a year ago. Ankit, I think there's like 750 practices already. It's crazy. I mean,
That's
it's
awesome.
blown up. So we have the lowest rates already. We beat like 99% of the rates. And if you're not on it, you and your wife should probably switch. But merchant services is the big one, and the other thing is the brokerage services. So brokerage, it's honestly it's kind of a nebulous, dare I say, shady industry because there's a lot of interesting things that go on in the brokerage industry. So Aaron and I and the team, we have an attorney, Justin Morgan, on the team. He acts as a broker. So we launched a couple months ago. I think within a month of launching, we had like 15 practices signed on already. So that is growing quickly. And we are making these matches, matching buyers and sellers almost every day. So the brokerage services is growing very quickly, and that's making a dent in the market already. So I'm excited to see where merchant services and the brokerage continues to go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's super exciting. I think you're right that the ODs are just going to get better at expanding the scope. We hear that a lot, and I love the
Yeah.
fact what you guys are doing at ODs on finance. Full disclosure, my business care team is a partner with you all, but I love your group. So
Yeah.
fantastic group
Appreciate it.
the ODs to be a part of. And then in full disclosure, you and I have actually talked about a couple of practices for purchasing, and so you were great to work with in those as well. So
Yep.
again, that's unsolicited, unsponsored. So just want to tell you the job you all doing. Uh,
Appreciate it.
so Chris, tell me, let's shift gears a little bit. Tell me a story. You kind of hinted at a few. Give me a story to you that resonates with you emotionally that made you who you are today.
Man, it's probably how I grew up. Like I said, and I've never shared that. I don't think I've ever shared that, publicly, but yeah, I'm first gen. My mom came to the States and she worked in the fields. And I don't say that regrettably. There's no shame in that at all. I'm proud of her, if anything. So she came over here and she worked in the fields and all that. And she was the only person in my entire family to go to college. And to this day, the only people that have ever gone to college are my mom and me and my siblings, of all the cousins and all that. So she is my inspiration. And to raise four of us on her own, looking back, I was like, man, I don't know how she did it because we played all the sports. I was like, how did she take us to and from? And we played everything: basketball, baseball, football, all that stuff. So I think being raised by a single mom like that, and who was a teacher, I mean, I knew I was going to school. I knew I was getting straight A's. I knew I was going to college. And I think that I always knew I was going to be a doctor. I knew I was going to be successful in whatever way, shape, or form that manifested. But I always knew I just needed to work hard to um, to make something of myself. And I think at the time, I felt like if I did that, it was because it was so that I could make my mom proud of me. And my mom and everyone's mom says, "Well, I'm always going to be proud of you anyway." Like all moms are going to say that. But man, now that I think about it, and I don't know if I've thought about this till you just asked. I feel like I needed to do that to make her sacrifice worth it. You know, so I think that's what makes me who I am. It's just a result of how I was raised and by whom.
No, I thank you for sharing that. I'm technically first, second generation. I think I was, yeah, first generation technically. I think coming to this country too. My parents, similar story. It's sort of like, hey, you know what? The parents sacrifice a lot, so I feel like I kind of have to kind of make it work. So I
Mhm.
definitely can empathize with you on that one. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's share some of your wisdom to your younger self. So what advice would you give yourself uh, going knowing what you know now, go back in time to when you first graduated OD school? What advice would you give to yourself?
I don't I don't know if I would have any advice to give. I feel like any advice would be like in hindsight, like I woulda, coulda, shoulda done things differently. But I almost feel like that would be looking back on things with some form of regret. And I don't know. I feel like things happen for a reason. Like I said, I've been screwed before a couple of times, and moved across the country and gotten screwed. But yeah, I don't know. Things happen for a reason. You can take them for lessons learned. Get back on your feet. Keep moving forward. learn from it, take it for what it is, get better, and move on to bigger and better things. So I don't know. I don't know if I would give myself any advice. Just keep keep moving forward.
I like that.
Be gritty, persevere.
Be gritty. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. So Chris, if people want to reach out to you and find and connect with you, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on the ODs on Finance Facebook group. They can find me there, send me a message. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn, so they can find me there. I'm not too active on any of the other social media. I think I'm an old grandpa. Like, yeah, I don't do TikToks. I don't do Instagram, Twitter. I don't do any of that stuff. But yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook. Those are primarily. They can send me an email. I don't know if you put my email in the show notes or anything like that. But I'm happy to. Excuse me. I'm happy to have conversations with anyone through the ODs on finance stuff. Man, we're talking to ODs literally every day. We get hundreds of emails, messages, text messages every single day, and we want to be a resource to everybody. Everything we do is just to give back to the community, provide resources for everyone. That's what we're here for. So happy to help any way we can.
That's fantastic. I appreciate that. And we'll put the contact information in the show notes for
Cool.
folks.
Cool.
Well, Dr. Chris Lopez, thank you again for being a guest on the show.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and one of my biggest takeaways from today is, what you want is the other side of the fear. You gotta have the courage to go through there. And you know what? It may actually not. It may actually your fear may come true, but guess what? You can just try again. Right? That was a bigger. I think that was a bigger insight I took away from this conversation. It's like, hey, just try again. Keep learning, and keep moving forward.
You know what? That's a great point. Not to extend the conversation too long, so I know
You're
we
good.
got to wrap up. But if everything wants on the other side of fear, if you fail and you get back up, you realize, wait, that's how bad it was. That's it, and it becomes easier to fail, and then you realize that's not so bad, and
Yeah.
then it gets easier. Then you'll realize how much more you'll be able to accomplish. Yeah. So I mean, it's not a bad thing.
I love that. Thank you. And thank you, audience. If you learned something or laughed, please share the podcast with a friend and make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. And if you see the link in the show notes to book a meeting, I'll send a free copy of my book, Optometry Redefined, to you. And thank you again, Chris, for being on the show. This has been another exciting episode of Optometrists Building Empires. We'll see you next time. Take care. That's a wrap on another episode of Optometrists Building Empires. Thanks for joining. For show notes and more, visit buildingempires.live. This show is proudly sponsored by My Business Care Team. My Business Care Team was born out of staffing challenges my wife and I faced together, managing multiple optometry locations. We refined our approach at Classic Vision Care and now offer our expertise to others. If you're experiencing challenges with staffing and you'd like to set up a discovery call, we'd be happy to help you and connect you with the right resources. We'll see you next time.